Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the St. Louis Blues. The Blues are heading back to the Stanley Cup playoffs. They punched their ticket to the postseason last week, and we're going to take a look at the Blues. The really great run of success over the past decade. We're going to go over all of that, especially the playoff picture. How does that look going into the postseason? So we're looking at all of that today. So let's start off with the St. Louis Blues. Over the past 11 seasons, the St. Louis Blues have made the playoffs 10 of those past 11 seasons. Now, they did only win one Stanley Cup in those 10 years, which I guess that's actually a pretty good rate, right? I think most people would take that. Some people won't watch their team win a Stanley Cup in their lifetime, which that's kind of a, depressing thought, but that's kind of how things work, right? But the Blues won the Stanley Cup in 2019, and they've been fairly good since then. They made it past the second round only twice in those 10 seasons that they made the postseason. But you're looking at the Blues right now. They've had a little bit of a string of success, but again, they have those troubles in the first two rounds. And again, it is very difficult to get far in the playoffs. I mean, if you get past the first two rounds, you're in the Final Four. And when there's 32 NHL teams, there's a 1 in 8 chance on opening night that you could be in that spot, right? So, I mean, that's kind of how things work in that regard. So the Blues right now, they're batting pretty good considering where they've been, and you got to punch a ticket to the dance to have a chance, right? And the Blues have been able to do that. You look at where they sit right now in the Western Conference. That's really going to be the focal point of today's video. Is there, honestly is probably the most locked-in matchup in the entire Western Conference, which is the Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues. Both of them are tied in points. They have a 10-point gap between them and the fourth-seeded team in the Central, which is the Nashville Predators. Nashville's probably not catching them in that top three. And the Colorado Avalanche are 13 points away from those teams. So they're even further forward ahead of them than Nashville is below them. So combined 23 points that separate the first team and the fourth team in that Western Conference between the two in the middle. So that's kind of what you're looking at here. This is going to be a really good Central Division matchup, a classic Central Division rivalry between the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild. I'll be excited to do that very shortly once that's officially confirmed. But listen, I mean, you're talking about, cataclysmic fall from both these teams and Nashville coming up. And, I mean, they're not catching Colorado. You don't have to worry about that. But, that's kind of what you're looking at here. This is going to be a really good, this is a good St. Louis Blues team. And I think you see the emergence of Ville Husso. I mean, unfortunately, he's probably priced himself out of staying in St. Louis past this season, but he's been really good. I could see them going with a 2-goalie rotation throughout the playoffs. It's going to be Jordan Binnington's net, but Ville Husso is going to be right there behind him if he has a bad game or two. Like, there's going to be a short leash there for Craig Berube. You're looking at the team right now as a whole. I mean, you can name off 15 guys on that Blues organization that are just, they're all having great seasons. Pavel Buchnevich, Ryan O'Reilly, Tage Thompson. Is he in St. Who am I thinking of? Is it Tage Thompson? Who's the one that's in Buffalo? You guys are gonna berate me. I know it now, but I'm thinking of Robert Thomas. That's who it is. Robert Thomas. For some reason, I get those two messed up. Robert Thomas, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, Pavel Buchnevich, Braden Shen. I mean, you go down the list. All those guys up front have been incredible for the St. Louis Blues. And their back end is pretty good, too. I mean, Justin Falk. Now you look at the newest addition, Nick Leddy coming in. I think that was a great addition to that blue line. Colton Parayko. They got some really good pieces there. And I think that's really made a difference for this team. Now, the biggest thing that I think could separate them from the Minnesota Wild come playoff time is their depth. You're looking at the St. Louis Blues. You have guys like Connor McEachran, Jordan Kyrou. Those guys coming in and developing have really helped the Blues in terms of their scoring depth. And I think that's always been a little bit of an issue for this team, is their depth scoring. Not the case this season. They have scored a lot of goals from their bottom six. And this is just a really good hockey team. They're on pace to get 50 wins this season, which is very impressive. Now, this is another interesting thing. So both them and the Minnesota Wild pretty close in the standings. But the goal differential, now again, come playoff time, this is a clean slate, doesn't really matter. But the goal differential is 48, a plus 48 goal differential for the Minnesota Wild, a plus 68 for the St. Louis Blues. That is second in the Western Conference, of course, only behind the Colorado Avalanche, which is a plus 86 goal differential. Nobody's really going to catch that there. Actually, excuse me, they're third because Calgary has 82, a plus 82. So plus 68. That's third in the Western Conference, only behind Calgary and Colorado, which we've been talking about for the most part. Those are the top two teams in this year's playoffs. Now, the good thing is here for the Avalanche, for the Blues, is they don't have to play either Calgary or Colorado in the first round. I would say that's a pretty big win in their own right. So as long as they get past Minnesota, who's still a fairly young team, they look very good though. But they aren't as hot as they were earlier in the season. It's kind of been the seesaw. The Blues were a little bit slower coming out of the gate. Minnesota was just on a tear throughout the winter. And now as we've started to get closer to the playoffs, we've started to see things even out. And we're actually tied in points right now. Now you're seeing St. Louis. They have been really, really good since the beginning, really since January. The Blues have been a really good hockey team. They got better at the deadline with a couple of little moves here and there. I think this is going to be a good team. I think the real question for the Blues is their goaltending. And when you're going to be playing Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot out in Minnesota, who is the better goalie matchup? And I hate to say it, the Blues might not have the best goalie matchup there. That could be a problem come playoff time. But again, the depth scoring, that could ultimately be the difference for this team in that first round series. So this is kind of a playoff preview, I guess you could say, because that is really the main focal point of today's video for the Blues. But I like what I've seen from them. Craig Berube has done a great job ever since he came into St. Louis in 2019, obviously winning a Stanley Cup. But the Blues, listen, man, I could see them beating Calgary or Colorado in the second or third round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think they're one of the very few teams that can do that. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think this is another potentially Stanley Cup playoff run that they could go all the way to the final? Or do you see them bouncing in the first round with a matchup against the Wild? Let me know what you guys think. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and let's go Blues.